All right, gentlemen, let's start this show. Let's do it. I am not going to immediately talk about what I think most people probably want me to talk about. That said, that is primarily because there is a 56-minute video that was taken from stream giving my initial thoughts on the Boston Bruins and Florida Panthers series. We will get my a couple of days after opinions a little bit later on in the show. But gentlemen, we have a lot of playoff hockey to talk about because the first round is over. That extra day in between shows, we now get to talk about the entirety of the first round and to really kind of get our thoughts in there and perhaps our predictions for the second round as well. We have a lot to do today. But before we get into it, I want to ask you, fellas. Hey, Sin, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It is, this Saturday will be officially 1 month until I go to Finland.
So who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? No one's counting.
Yeah, I'm, God, yeah, you're heading over a little bit earlier than I am and staying a hell of a lot later than I am. But yeah, you are leaving on, what would it be then?
It's going to be the 5th. I arrive on the 6th, yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll be leaving on the 13th, arriving on the 14th. So you'll get there ahead of me. You'll stay there later, and I'm envious of you on both accounts. Endo Mills, how are you?
I'm good, and because we skipped it, welcome to the Tougies Take podcast. If you have no idea what this podcast is, it's myself, Tougie, the namesake and the matriarch of this podcast, with Sin, the Nordic,
huh?
yeah,
All right.
the Nordic king, yeah.
All right.
I birthed this.
Yes, he did birth it. I mean, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have any of the mutual followers that I have right now, which is like 95% of them. So I'm doing all right. I'm filled with the passion. You know, it's been a crazy week. My predictions came true. And that's all.
Dare I say, did your dreams come true? True.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Okay. If there's one thing about that song is that, you know how almost every team, they have a cheer with their song, right? Our fan base is so old that we hear the song, we're like, fuck, we're not going to sing along to it. We're just going to remember the good old days and all that stuff. Like when they say you, just say you. It's like, make it interactive. Like you have the Bruins with Current Craft, you have, or whatever the fuck it's called. Like just interactive song cheers for goal horns. That's all I want. I'm doing good.
With that, before we get to our viewer questions, as we always do, we need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at manscaped.com, where you can go to said website that is manscaped.com, and you can use the code Tougie, Tougie, for 20% off your first order, and you get free shipping on the deal as well. Manscaped, of course, the pinnacle, the peak, the best, simply the best in men's grooming. Head to toe, they got you covered. Make sure to support our friends over at manscaped.com. Use the code Tougie, Tougie, and thank you to Manscaped. Thank you to all of you for listening or watching the show. And we try to show a little bit of appreciation by taking some of your questions. And we kick things off with Reds Rebels. Is the power back yet? So, elephant in the room. That is why we did not record yesterday. Still have no idea what happened. But at about noon on Monday, the power went out for about my town and the 7 neighboring towns / cities, and did not come back until 9 a.m. this morning. So I missed out on an ECL broadcast with Sports Gamer. I missed out on being able to watch Devils Rangers Game 7. Missed out on streaming last night. It was fun though, right? It's like camping in your own house when you don't own a generator. If you would like to donate to the Get Tougie a Generator for a wedding gift fund, we'll try to organize that soon because that sucked. Last night sucked. Oh, but hey, we had fun. And it's back now, and it gave us a chance to talk about Game 7 for that Devils Rangers game today. Our first real question, I feel like we've had this one before, or at least I've given my thoughts on this before, but from Scroopy Noopers, though I don't think any should feel shame over anyone music or any music one listens to. What is your guilty pleasure song? As a metalhead, I usually do look around before enjoying Eddie Money's Take Me Home Tonight. I have always said there is no such thing as a guilty pleasure for me. I have no problem in terms of like my stream playlist that's out there on Spotify. Just search Tougie 24. Like I will go from Metallica to Dua Lipa to the Backstreet Boys to Mastodon. Like, I don't care. Like if it just sounds good to me, it sounds good to me. I became aware in high school. I'm like, who gives a fuck if people like Justin Bieber? Because that's when he was really growing into this fucking superstar, and it's people are just like, oh, I can't believe people like. It's like, who the fuck cares? It's always pretty much been my opinion. Sin, your thoughts?
Yeah. I used to have some, I don't know, I used to have that weird, especially as a musician, used to get that kind of weird elitist feeling at times for certain types of music. When dubstep first came out, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is, everyone's freaking out over like, oh, you hear that little computerized run they did between the wobbles? I'm just like, I fucking, what? But yeah, like I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, I listen to tons of EDM type stuff, not just on my own really, but when I'm looking for songs to put in videos and stuff like that, because I know people dig it. So it's like, yeah, I see what it is. I'm like, yeah, this is hype. Like I can see the appeal to this. Sounds good, makes people feel good. It's always at a BPM that, really syncs up with a certain mood. And that's what I have to look for to match a mood with the video or whatever. But yeah, I can't say I have any really guilty pleasure songs. I'll go back to a time when I had a guilty pleasure song when I was still kind of in that phase, but this started to transition me out where it's like, hey, if the song's good, it's good. I don't know I cannot remember the name of the song. I think it's Trouble by Taylor Swift.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Great song, dude.
It's a great song.
It fucking slaps. Like, I don't even care, dude. I'm like, I was listening to that shit jamming out in my car one time on the freeway, and this other car pulled up.
I like that version. And then what took that song to a different level was one of those Pop Goes Punk albums.
Oh.
And I Came as Romans covered it. And that's a great fucking song, too.
You mean
We Came as Romans? Not I Came as Romans. I Came as Romans.
I came.
I can.
Yeah, dude.
Can you believe it?
I was listening to that song on full blast in my car once on the freeway, and I stopped at the the whatever. What do they call that shit? The signal.
I thought you were gonna say another person's bumper because of how people drive in California.
No, like the signal lights that go into the freeway. I don't know if Maine even has a population big enough for those, but they have those commuter lights where you have to stop before you're allowed to enter the freeway.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I at least know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Apparently that's like a big ass population thing. But yeah, anyway, I was fucking jamming that, and like these two fucking cholos pulled up next to me, like looking over at me, jamming out to Taylor Swift, and they just laughed, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, one of them had on the goddamn flattest Raider cap of all time.
Amazing. Endo, any guilty pleasures?
No, I listen. I'm one of those guys who says I listen to everything. I listen to everything. Honestly, I'll throw country on, and then I'll feel weird. It'll just have it on. Yeah. Very few things I will skip.
I fucking hate modern country. I will listen to old country all day. Modern country is ass. I'm sorry.
Yeah, got that corn. Got the truck.
Again, if I listen to modern country, it's you play bingo, truck, campfire, wife, beer, dog. Those are pretty much the big five.
Corn.
The best, my favorite in terms of hating it, modern country song was really popular like a year or two ago. I love my country, my country. And some people know what song that is. They literally rhymed country with country because it's like my country, but also the music. Do you get it? It's like, I would strangle you with my bare hands. Yeah, modern country sucks.
Yeah.
As it's described as a hickleback, hick hop. I can't stand that shit. But you put some like Clint Black on from 25 years ago. I'm in. But Yeah, no, just terrible. From Yosei, with the coincidence that both Miami teams, NBA and NHL, have upset the number one seed in the first round of the playoffs, are there any other sports moments when something lined up like that for a city? And because I mentioned the NBA, go Nuggets, go. Well, it certainly hasn't lined up for Denver because you're hoping for the Rockies and the Nuggets to actually do something. So good fucking luck. And the Broncos, for that matter. I mean, their best chance would have been the Avs and the Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. In terms of what came to mind for me, though, I mean, in terms of like upsets, nothing really comes to mind. But I mean, obviously, there have been times where in recent memory, in past 10 years or so, really, that, you know, the Patriots or Red Sox have won a title in the same year. Dodgers, Lakers just did it not all that long ago. I mean, there are plenty of examples of cities kind of, you know, having two teams win at the same time. In terms of upsets like that, though, that's a hell of a lot more difficult to think of at the same time. But
yeah, it is.
My condolences to you as a Denver sports fan. But hey, you had the Avs last year. The final question, I only bring this up because I had to scroll through about 16,000 messages to find the other viewer questions because these fuckers took over the section with talk started by AJ. You can only keep one of these iconic Gen 1 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Which one stays? Dark Magician, Exodia, or Blue Eyes White Dragon?
Which one is most expensive that I can sell? Because Yu-Gi-Oh's ass, Magic is better.
Oh, you're one of those cards.
Discord. Get fucked, Discord. Hope you all lick my taint.
I don't know which one would be more expensive. So clearly Sin. Go ahead, Endo.
No, he was doing an architect thing.
Yeah. It's like,
trash.
my taint because he was trash.
So clearly Sin didn't have a Yu-Gi-Oh phase. Endo, did you ever have a Yu-Gi-Oh phase?
You know what? Yes and no. I never had Yu-Gi-Oh stuff as a kid. I had Chaotic.
The hell is that?
Are you familiar with what Chaotic is?
No.
Tougie, you're familiar with what Chaotic is, aren't you?
That fucking Canadian.
No. So it's basically, it was like, you know how like Pokemon trading card game you can do online and offline kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
So Chaotic was this thing where you would, it was the same concept. You'd pick like 6 fighters or whatever, and you give them like attachments and stuff like that and things, all card based, and you'd play it through that way. It was basically popularized in some places because of the animated TV show, which was done by 4Kids, which was basically 4Kids was leased out to do a bunch of shows. They did like the Sonic cartoon, the Kirby cartoon, a bunch of stuff like that. And that's how they got really popular. I had like a whole set. I had like the tin box set with the fucking scanner because I'm such a fucking loser. I had like, I think the one set was the Duranian invasion. Yeah, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, Tougie.
No, it's just I'm an even bigger fucking loser because I 100% at like 8, 9, 10 years old had a Yu-Gi-Oh phase. It was big in my school.
Dude.
Had the games, had the cards. The fucking wrist accessory.
Yeah. My cousins did.
I got it for a birthday.
We tried to actually use it in an actual thing. He's on the floor. He's on the thing with his arms. Like, how? Fuck. Okay, I take 200 damage. Shit. How do I fucking? Okay, 200 minus 4,000. Okay, and then this. Just the whole thing was spent. Just.
Sin, check our chat here. I sent you a picture of what the fuck this thing looked like.
What the fuck? Why is it so big? That's not an accessory.
It's a lifestyle.
That's not an accessory. That's a fucking. I don't even know.
Shut the fuck up. The only thing I keep thinking of now is there's an animator, Speedo Sausage, made a Yu-Gi-Oh video, and it's just like Kaiba and Yugi. He's like, it's like, you can't beat me. I told ISIS into submission. Oh my god. That's the only thing I can think of.
AJ,
but yeah, I had that. Okay, hear me out. How about this? Beyblade.
It was a big thing in my school too. I wasn't as
Dude. I
even
caught
heard
the
of that.
first wave,
What did I
and
miss?
then
They
I caught
were-
the second wave. Oh my
They were
god!
battle tops. So what you did,
dude, we
Think
would
of, like,
make our
think of-
own.
you had the big plastic arena, and you'd have a fucking top of the ripcord.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And these things
I
had the
remember those.
sharpest fucking edges. I swear to God, I just bought a shovel today, and that has duller edges than fucking Beyblades did. It might as well have been knives.
So here's the best part about Beyblades, because the first edition were all plastic, perfectly fine whatsoever. And then some wise guy down at Hasbro said, "Yo, what if we put metal on it?" And then it hit metal. Like, first it was like a metal base and everything. That was cool. That was fine. And then the third edition happened when I was in middle school, and that shit was all metal. The entire thing was metal. There were videos of people like letting them rip inside of like a small little can, and a fucking fire starts because of how much sparks are hitting back and forth, back and forth. It is ridiculous.
I'm
It was
glad
the greatest thing.
Beyblade had their own exhibit. Yeah, what if we put metal on it?
Okay, another one. Battle beat 'em on. Did you guys ever hear about that?
No, that
Okay.
no.
So this was basically like shooting marbles. It was like a marble shooter. It was basically Gundams mixed with marbles. And I had like all the regular sets. I had all the Chinese knockoff sets. I had the actual straight from Japan sets. Ridiculous.
You're a fucking
Yeah.
nerd, bro.
Yeah, I was a nerd who played sports. That's the weirdest part about it too.
Yeah, but
It's
I
like,
think
I didn't
that's
know
all
what-
three of us.
I didn't know what
Like,
what
that's
to
our
claim.
thing.
Yeah,
We all like sports, but we're also gigantic fucking nerds.
pretty much. I didn't know what click to claim. I was just like, all right, cool.
So
Maybe
two
that's why I got
things.
bullied in high school.
The correct answer is Blue Eyes White Dragon, which was the dopest.
Yes.
I mean, come on. And second, I bought the shovel because I garden now. I'm approaching 30 fast, homeowner, and we garden in this
Gardening is
household.
amazing, dude.
So
Growing your own food, man. There's nothing. That's just a primal satisfaction.
taking
Yeah, live
some
off the land.
some dead fucking trees out and sodding and grassing it over so the yard looks better. I'm into it. I'm in full dad mode. Not that that's in sight, but still, I'm ready. I got
the New Balances
got the
laced up
hobbies.
tight.
I got the New Balance. I fucking love New Balances. I don't give a fuck. I got the dad jokes ready to go. We're ready. Thanks to all of you for those questions. We appreciate it. It allowed me to not have to talk about playoff hockey for a little bit. And we do have one topic before we get into the playoff rounds, and that is that the Calgary Flames did a thing. Beyond forcing the city that they are in to shell out a shatload of money to keep the team for a new arena, they have chosen to let go of head coach Daryl Sutter just 1 year after winning 50 games in the regular season. I gotta be honest, though. Number one, it is the right move, in my opinion.
Yes.
But man, he was set up for failure this year. The Matthew Tkachuk trade, which we'll talk about, don't worry, changed the, look at what Matthew Tkachuk did for the Panthers in round one. You replace him with Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. It's just an entirely different style of play that you're introducing to that team. It really was square peg round hole. I think if you were going to make a move like that, it was worth not keeping Daryl Sutter around, as it turned out. I mean, I think, I can't sit here and say, at the time we all knew this would be a failure. But yeah, with the power of hindsight, and maybe it should have been foresight too, it would have been better to bring in a new coach to better suit the play style, particularly of Jonathan Huberdeau, of Nazem Kadri. I mean, that's another huge factor to this team. And now they're in a spot where it's like, okay, did you waste a year or so in terms of being able to make something happen, especially too when Huberdeau's extension kicks in at the beginning of this season. Obviously he had that 1 year left before anything else, before that higher amount were to kick in.
Yeah. I think like the Kachuk trade is still good. You still got Mackenzie Weegar and Huberdeau. It's still a good fucking deal for Kachuk. But like you said, Kachuk is the definition of a Daryl Sutter player.
Yeah.
He's perfect for Daryl Sutter.
He's a more skilled Dustin Brown.
Immensely more skilled. Like, not even close. Dustin Brown couldn't fucking tie his laces.
Imagine the statue he would have gotten in Calgary.
Yeah. Fucking. So, yeah, if after you make that trade, like it's only a bad trade because you get rid of a Daryl Sutter player, but you don't make trades necessarily to suit a coach. It does have to be in your mind if you're going to keep that coach, and they did, and I think it probably worked out worse than I thought it would. But yeah, Huberdeau is not a Daryl Sutter player, like at all, and it sucks for Daryl Sutter because, like you said, he was never put in a great situation to succeed, and it was only made worse by taking away the most Daryl Sutter fucking player off that team. And again, It's not a bad trade. It's still a good trade, really, for both sides, obviously, but it just wasn't a good situation for Weegar and Huberdeau to come into because you have to adjust to a new system. You have to adjust to a new location. There's so much you have to adjust to, and then it's like you've never played before. It's not even that close to a more current NHL style in a lot of ways. Daryl Sutter is still he's a 90s, 2000s coach.
Yeah.
And while you can still work in elements of that play, especially in the playoffs, it's just, you can't always bend a player completely to your will when they have such a different game.
Now, for the Flames, we do not know who their next head coach is going to be yet. There is, kind of the name out there right now, the primary name out there, the front runner, would be Mitch Love, who is the head coach of their AHL team, the Calgary Wranglers. This is actually his second year as an AHL head coach. Last year, when they were still in Stockton, he won AHL Coach of the Year. I believe I saw he won it this year as well, or as a finalist for the award. His first 2 seasons in the AHL, he's done that. Prior to that, he was a head coach with the Saskatoon Blades of the WHL. So he's only 38 years old. He would have experience with a lot of Calgary's younger players, especially someone like Dustin Wolf in goal, who tore the AHL up again. Yep. He seems to be kind of the guy. Like, if you want to go with this new era and really back somebody, I would much prefer, and I think it would be better for them to go for a new option instead of like, well, if Gerard Gallant gets fired by the Rangers now, we can go for, like, you got a guy. Give him a chance. What's the worst that happens? You miss the playoffs again? Like, give this guy an opportunity here, knowing that your roster does need to undergo some changes, right? Like, Milan Lucic's deal is up. Nick Ritchie's deal is up. You can kind of move on from the bigger hulking players and start to play more of a skill game that the league is going towards. And then obviously you still want to have that grit that can fill in. But yeah, so hopefully for Flames fans, I mean, again, you get the good news of the arena. You know there's going to be a head coaching change. I just hope they go the right direction with that. That's it, gentlemen. Anything to add about Calgary, or shall we talk about the now completed first round of the playoffs? And it looks like
I will say one thing about Daryl Sutter. I am surprised that they got rid of their GM before they got rid of the coach. I will say that completely.
That is a very fair point. Yes, they did make that change at GM. But at the same time, that's often seems to be the way that it goes, right? Like, you get rid of you get rid of the GM, and then the new GM brings in his own coach. So,
but here's another thing too: is I saw the writing on the wall, and I keep talking about this regardless. With Daryl Sutter, he's a great coach, but past the era that I wouldn't say he's out of his prime, which is kind of rude to say, but at the same time, it's not wrong. The one thing that irked me the most is you are on the cusp of qualifying for the Stanley Cup playoffs. You have like 2-3 games in hand. You're up against the Nashville Predators, who are also 2-3 games in hand. Whoever loses that game basically is out. That's a scenario that you're basically in. And in the shootout, you throw out Nick Ritchie.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable. Okay, cool. Actually, not understandable. That's a stupid decision. You then say after, why'd you throw out Nick Ritchie? Oh, he scored on that goalie before. That makes no sense.
Where's the lie?
Why would that's like throwing that's basically throwing Milan Lucic out on there for a shootout on a breakaway.
I mean, what do you have, Elias Lindholm on your roster? I mean, he might be bad in a shootout.
You have so many players who can make the jump over there. There's several situations throughout the year where they call up a guy to go play and he gets no ice time. He just sit in the press box when he could have been doing more stuff in the AHL as well too. I've been watching a lot of takes from friends of mine like Audie James and other people who doing other stuff with the Calgary Flames and just watching their stuff and what they have to say and realizing that what I just don't think I think he was the right coach but not at the right time, just like Tortorella in that situation over there in Philadelphia. Right coach, right time. If you want a playoff push, no, it's not going to happen. You want to rebuild a team and build them up from the bottom up? Perfect. Good rebuilding coach, but I don't think he has the tenacity to make it go through and do stuff to keep that team flourishing in the playoffs and postseason.
Fair enough. Well, Endo, we just heard from you a lot, and I hope to hear from you again here in a moment because let's start off the playoff talk. First round.
Boston Bruins blowing it. No. We'll go in order. It's okay.
I'm a sad boy. Sad boy. The Toronto Maple Leafs and No Mills have won a playoff series in 6 games over the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning did stave off elimination through Game 5. They won it 4-2. Vasilevsky stopped 28 of 30. Samsonov 34 of 37. But the Leafs get it done in Game 6 in overtime. Their first series win since 2004. John Tavares, the hero. Or was he? Maybe it was Sheldon Keefe for actually scratching Justin Hall. The Leafs became the first team in NHL history to win 3 overtime games on the road in a single playoff series. In that Game 6, Samsonov stopped 31 of 32. Bassey 20 of 22. And throughout this series, the Leafs were led by their stars. Mitch Marner, 11 points. Matthews, 9. Riley, 8. Tavares, O'Reilly, Nylander with 7. Their depth was pretty spotty, but man, their stars absolutely got it done. Fair enough.
It's my turn to speak. Oh, sweet. Yeah. No, it's I don't know how to word this out. Finally, after years of torture, they finally were able to come together as a unit and get it done. The addition of O'Reilly has been absolutely clutch, especially when we had that. He's been basically the key instrument into stealing games. One of the greatest plays I've seen that we talked about before was William Nylander just throwing it on net and Ryan O'Reilly parking his ass right in front, putting it in there. I think last year we wouldn't have a player who would do that. I think it's been a lot of the tenacity and a lot of buildup of, we've been here so many times. Like, why don't we actually just go and win the thing? And I think that's the
push. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, you just think, fuck it, go win the thing. You know what? That's basically the mentality it was. Because they stole, again, those 3 overtime games, they stole them. They stole those games from them. They've been outplayed all series long. And the one time they actually put the grid in and play a whole 60 minutes, they win and do something. So it's proof that, this team actually can do something and the players can do something productive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll talk about round 2 in a minute. In terms of the rest of the team, defensively, Mark Giordano at age 39 will play in the second round for the first time in his career. Poor man.
That's ridiculous.
That's so sad. Like, so sad. He has deserved so much better as a player. It's great to see him finally get that opportunity. But then in goal, he had his moments, but Ilya Samsonov finishes the first round matchup with a 900 save percentage on the dot. Does that instill confidence? We'll obviously talk about the next round later on in the show, but how confident are you, Endo, as a Leafs fan, in Ilya Samsonov?
Honestly, I think I'm pretty confident. I mean, he's had bad games, but he's also been able to bounce back as well too, and be reliable for them. The only real like big sort of hiccup was game 1, and then I think game 3. That's the only like hiccup situations I've seen him personally have. But at the same time, just you gotta take it one day at a time, especially with Matt Murray on the road to recovery. He had some ice time, I think it was yesterday, and people were dogging him on Twitter saying, well, he can't stop like shots in warm-up. And I will tell you this. If you are out for a month with a head-related injury or any injury whatsoever, you're off the ice for like a week or two, you are rusty. Especially on like a professional level. Like when goalies get injured for like a month or so, they are like eased back in as much as possible. Because you don't want to re-aggravate anything, especially during the playoffs.
And if you go to the gym and get hurt and then come back 2 months later, you go right back to deadlifting 500 pounds again. That's how it works.
That's how you fuck up your knee like I do. So, you know, that's exactly what it is. You take your time, you ease into it, and people think that professionals are always on the ice or always this and always that, but they're just they're athletes, but at the same time they're still individuals like you and I. Like they have their faults and everything like that too. And I think that even if Murray doesn't come back, you still have Joe Wall, because they sent down Chalgren back down to the AHL to go play with the Marlies, who are playing game 3 tonight, I think, for their playoff series, and they're tied right now. But yeah, so goaltending, I'm not really too scared or shaky about. We're not going to be calling up Petrozelli or anything like that. Nothing like that crazy is going to happen.
For the Lightning, because obviously we'll have a chance to talk about the Leafs a little bit later on, so we'll get your thoughts on the team. For the Lightning, though, they were led by Cirelli and Kucherov with 6 points each, Killorn, Perry, Hagel each with 5, and you had Stamkos, Point, and Colton with 4. A lot of people calling out Braden Point for not doing too much beyond that big first game. Tanner Jeannot, the poor guy, gets injured at the worst time. He finishes this playoff run with no points in 3 games, clearly injured. This is going to be one of the worst on-paper deadline deals potentially ever, given how much they gave up for this guy. And then, for me, the biggest takeaway, Andrei Vasilevsky finishes this series with an .875 save percentage. Blame the defense if you want. I get on paper, it's like, well, who's Nick Perbix? Who's Darren Radish? But an .875 for Vasilevsky. In my opinion, he cost the team as much as anybody did. That is a very un-Vasilevsky-like performance, and the series still went 6. If Andrei Vasilevsky shows up, I don't know if we're talking about the Leafs going to the second round, but in my opinion, he very much did not show up.
Yeah. I think another thing, too, is last year when he played the Leafs, he had a terrible save percentage as well, too, because that series was a shoot-around in general. Just Jack Campbell had a terrible save percentage. Vazzy had a terrible save percentage. It was just every shot that went in on both goalies went in. But I think Vazzy got the shutout in Game 7. I'm not sure. He was able to rebound, and they went to a cup run almost to the final, almost won the damn thing. So can't judge them too much on that.
So for the Lightning, shout out to Pat Maroon, by the way. Won't be playing in the Stanley Cup final for the first time since the 2018 final. That was the last time we had a final without him in it. And for the Lightning, we'll see what happens. Again, the biggest deal for them, Alex Killorn's contract is up. Aside from that, Belmar, Perry, Jeannot was an RFA, Ian Cole as well. Like, they really don't have that much to do in terms of major concerns. That's more so next year, where Stamkos' contract will be up. So we'll see what happens there. But the Tampa Bay Lightning season is over. Kind of crazy, but that's where we're at. The New Jersey Devils defeat the New York Rangers in 7 after losing the first 2 games of the series by 5-1 score lines. Holy hell. Now, the Devils won Game 5 4-0. It was a 3-point night for Eric Holla, a 23-save shutout for Akira Schmidt. The Rangers won Game 6 5-2, 3-point night for Kreider, 34 of 36 stop for Shesterkin, and Schmidt just 29 of 24, so he had a rough game. But then he bounces back, and the Devils win Game 7 last night 4-0 on home ice. Their first series win since 2012, when they lost eventually in the Stanley Cup final to the LA Kings. And it's the first time that they've ever beaten the New York Rangers in a Game 7. The 7th time these two clubs went to a Game 7. The Rangers had won the previous 6. Akira Schmidt, 31 save shutout. We'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute. But first and foremost, Sin, I know you have thoughts on this. The Jacob Trouba hit on Timo Meier.
Dirty. I do not care if the rules have this leeway to where that's actually a clean hit. It's fucking not. It's direct head contact. And Timo Meier's head never changed position. And that's the only time where you could say if someone looks down is when they change head position, but his head was in the same position. And he wasn't even like, yeah, he's bent over, but his head is like still up.
Mm-hmm.
And
his head was never down.
Had he been looking down, the hit would have hit him on the top of the fucking helmet because of Trouba's size. Instead, it hit him right in the face. It's a terrible hit, and I don't. If the rules say that can be allowed, change the fucking rules, because those are dangerous. And Timo Meier coming back on the bench to me was fucking ridiculous. I don't think he saw the ice again in that game. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure of.
If he did, that's flat out irresponsible by the Devils. But he was in like the handshake line and shit like that, bloodied up, all in the face, like. It's nuts. And again, that's an unnecessary hit. And all you're trying to do in that situation is let out anger and maybe even try to injure someone. Because it's in the situation he's skating into the zone surrounded by 3 Rangers. You don't need to lay a massive fucking hit on the guy to take away the puck. I mean, yeah, Trouba's fucking ass defensively. But still, that's what you have 2 other back checkers there with you. And they had been targeting Timo the entire series with cross-check after cross-check after cross-check and after-whistle shenanigans stuff. And yeah, he was clearly a target for that team. And again, I'm sorry, it's a bad hit. Anytime it's direct head contact, it's a penalty. It should be.
So Meier
and
played
how good's
11...
the rule book? You can only get 2 minutes for a check to the head. Did you know that? You can only get 2 minutes for a check to the head. That's only a 2-minute penalty.
Meier played 11:35 last night. The hit happened about 5-6 minutes into the third period, so I'm pretty sure he did not play afterwards. He had the the second fewest amount of shifts. Only Miles Wood played less, but he only had 6.5 minutes of ice time. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did not come back and play. Thank God for that. Jacob Trouba is the dirtiest, clean, in air quotes, player in the league, and people be like, I'm sure there'll be some Rangers fans. I would hope people this dumb aren't listening to this show because I don't want you here. But it would be one of those situations where it's like, I'm a Bruins fan, right? Oh, you have Brad Marchand on your team. Yeah, so I know what a dirty player looks like. Jacob Trouba's a dirty fucking player who has been only encouraged by the league to continue making borderline checks and checks that at the very least are dangerous, even if they end up being clean. He's been encouraged by the league to continue this style of play. And if it continues at this rate, eventually someone will get seriously hurt. So, hey, but that's what the NHL is looking for, I do suppose. For the New Jersey Devils, they were led in offense by Eric Holla. 6 points in the series. Guess Devils fans get the last laugh on the Pavel Zacha trade after all. Jack Hughes, Andre Palat, Nico Hischier with 5 points each. Their depth fucking sucked in this series. Tatar had 1 point. Miles Wood, Sharon Govich, Timo Meier, Jesper Boqvist, all without a point in the series. Vitek Vanacek in 3 appearances had an .827 save percentage because the talking point of this series is Akira Schmidt, a 4-1 record with a .951 save percentage. He became the 5th rookie goaltender in history to record a shutout in a Game 7, joining Carey Price, Ilya Bryzgalov, Felix Potvin, and Glenn Resch. Price, Bryzgalov, and Resch also did so in their first career Game 7 start. So, who the hell saw this coming for the Devils? Absolutely,
it's literally what they needed.
Insane.
Yeah, it's just jerking on the other side, and it's like, oh fuck, we're getting goalied at times. Honestly, in the first 2 games, they didn't look great either. They weren't severely outplayed like they severely outplayed the Rangers in Game 7. It wasn't even fucking close.
Yep.
Like, the Rangers had about 5 different, to my eyes, about 5 different times where they hemmed the Devils into the zone. The Devils were just simply a much better team. Yeah. And the Rangers kept getting these fucking calls too. It was pretty nuts. And they were blowing things on their power play, or when they set something up, Akira Schmidt would make an incredible save.
Something about Devils goaltenders, huh?
No, it was just it was magical. You felt nervous though after the first, because the Devils just shit on the Rangers all period, and they didn't score. And yeah, hockey fans, you know that feeling. We're like, fuck, something brutal's gonna go in at the other end. It never did. And when they got those good chances, like I said, Akira Schmidt stood on his head when he needed to. Shesterkin was still pretty good, but nowhere close to Akira Schmidt. I'm sorry, but
which is shocking. You're not wrong.
It is.
That just goes to show how good Schmidt was. And I have the Shesterkin save percentage. I was going to talk about it later, but we can talk about it now. Igor Shesterkin finished this series with a .931,
which is
the
great.
Rangers should be fucking embarrassed for themselves that they couldn't win this series based off of that. I mean, Igor Shesterkin was Igor Shesterkin. We're going to talk about a lot of other goaltenders and their save percentages. Igor was one of the best in this first round of the playoffs. Just
Rangers
somehow
hockey.
The Rangers got goalied the other way by a relatively unknown player entering this postseason, and not even their starter, their backup.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Devils essentially, they eventually learned to score on Shesterkin, even though they continued to get goalied. Again, he's got a .931. They continued to face a good goaltender, and they simply outplayed the Rangers.
Yep.
Where was Kane? Where was Tarasenko? Where was that veteran scoring that they picked up? They were so bad in that Game 7. Kane was just throwing the puck away time and time again. Lol, no one ever tell me how good Adam Fox is defensively again. He was abysmal in his own end. Turned the puck over, then overcommitted on the boards to get danced by Andre Palat. To be fair, big game player. But you should not be getting dangled by Andre fucking Palat. If you're one of the best two-way defensemen in the game, do not buy into the Adam Fox hype. Remove the franchise tag immediately off him in NHL. Makar fucking is much better. No Norris or Fox. He's awful.
The New York Rangers were led in offense by Chris Kreider with 9 points, Fox with 8, Patrick Kane with 6. It drops off a little bit from there. You had Tarasenko, Zibanejad, Hedl with 4 points each, and 2 points for Kakko and Artemi Panarin. Just 2 points.
And only one of those points was a 5-on-5, and it was a secondary assist.
Did not show up in the series, and he wasn't the only one. 1 point apiece for Trocheck, their big free agent signing this year, Goodrow and Jimmy Vesey, and 0 points for deadline acquisition Tyler Mott and Alexis Lafreniere. 0 points.
He was too busy floating wristers from on top of the circle right into the crest of the goaltender.
Pretty much everything
so
went wrong. It went wrong for the Rangers as the series went on. They had 2 combined goals in the 4 losses. 2. Shut out twice. Choked. Didn't choke as bad as some other teams. But yeah, they didn't show up. They simply didn't show up. And
this is the exact same Rangers team that had Lundqvist. Maybe they make some deep runs here and there, but they are still frauds in front of a great goaltender. The Rangers are fucking frauds.
this is way too speculative. I know you're having fun with this, and I appreciate it too. It's so speculative to say this, right? Because it's early. It's early in Igor's career. If the New York Rangers somehow waste him after wasting Henrik Lundqvist, move the team.
Yeah.
Move the team to Saskatoon. Like, just fuck it at that point. You got to start fresh, and you got to try something different. Because
put a real hockey team in Madison Square Garden, like the Islanders.
The Phoenix Coyotes. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal for the Rangers. There's a lot of talk about what's Gerard Gallant's future, and we'll see what the answer is. They have some decisions to make because, not making it out of the first round, like, you're against the Devils, but, man, you're up 2-0 in that series. Not making it out of the first round is unacceptable. Tarasenko, Kane, Mott, and Nico Mikkola are all UFAs. RFAs, Lafreniere, Keandre Miller, and Libor Hayek. At least those first two, you're going to be handing out a little bit of money there. I mean, to Lafreniere and Miller, I can't imagine Lafreniere will be, despite his struggles, willing to accept less than like $1.5-2 million. Like, you're going to have to give the guy a bit of a raise. So we'll see what happens. They do have $3.4 million in dead cap coming off the books, though, between Shattenkirk, Girardi, and Anthony DeAngelo. So we'll see what happens with the New York Rangers.
Yeah, we have to reiterate once again how awful the Rangers are at developing forwards.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely awful. Wasn't Kakko taken 2 overall, right? Not 4?
Yes.
You have a 1 and 2 overall pick on your team on the third line multiple years into their careers.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
not great.
How are you so fucking bad?
I mean, this was a problem dating back to the Lundqvist days.
Yeah. Like, how has nothing changed for this? Sather is departed. May he rest in peace. How is things not different?
You know, it's one of those things, if you wanted to, and Endo noted for what you just posted there. It's one of those things, right? You can go back and look at like the history of these Rangers draft picks and, you can 2019 was Capo Kakko. He and Zach Jones are the only ones from that draft to make the NHL so far. 2018 was Vitaly Kravtsov, who is now a Canuck in terms of a forward. And obviously it was Keandre Miller, who's still there, and Nils Lundqvist, who they just traded to Dallas. 2017, Lias Andersson, who is with the Kings organization. And in fairness, he hasn't developed there either. Philip Hedl, and then Morgan Barron, who was with the Jets. I think he went over there in a Kevin Hayes deal or something like that. 2016, 22 games combined in the NHL for the Rangers draft class. Sean Day, Tarmo Rantanen, and Tim Gettinger.
Ooh, Sean Day. Oh, boy.
Yeah. 2015, 10 NHL games from the entire Rangers draft class. They have been, frankly, shit at drafting. When they hit hard. But holy hell, do they not hit on their picks often? Now you can say
basically lucked into Fox too.
That's a big factor too, is him not wanting to sign elsewhere. Now in fairness, relative to how other teams fail to hit on their picks, who's to say? It's also the New York Rangers. No disrespect, but with the budget that you have available, you should be hitting on the vast majority of your picks. It's the same discussion that Leafs fans have had. We're worth how much money, and you can't get a half-decent scouting department so we can actually succeed in terms of draft picks? It's the same thing here. I will mention what Endo just posted. As we are recording this, the Selke finalists were announced. Patrice Bergeron, who's going to win, and he should. Mitch Marner, who honestly could win, and I wouldn't be against it. And Nico Hischier. So congratulations to those three for being the finalists. Bergeron is a finalist for this award for the 12th consecutive time. Rename the fucking award after him when he retires. Thank you very much.
I saw those hugs, man. I think he's gone, but we'll
talk about it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I know. I'm sorry.
Not ready.
I'm sorry.
We're getting there. It's not the last series we're going to talk about.
I will just say that I know people are going to give a lot of shit for Mitch Marner being up there, but I watched that dude.
He deserves it.
every single game in the playoffs. Of course, not in the regular season. He is the best player on the Leafs team. Eat your fucking heart out, Austin Matthews. He is the best player on that team.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. The Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's get this series over with, because it's honestly probably it's one of two that we have the least amount to talk about with, as the Golden Knights win the series in 5 games, winning Game 5 by the score of 4-1. It was a 3-point night for Mark Stone. Brossoit stopped 29 of 30, Hellebuck 21 of 25. Pretty easy series for the Golden Knights. You know, they had that one instance where they were up 4-1. They blew it, but beat the Jets in double overtime, and that was it for Winnipeg. The Knights were led by Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone with 8 points each. William Karlsson, Jack Eichel, Alex Pietrangelo with 5 points each. And Brossoit, to his credit, .915 save percentage is pretty solid for what we've seen in these playoffs. Not too much else to say, I would imagine, in regards to Winnipeg that we can't say when we talk about their second round matchup coming up. So let's talk about the Jets, because they were led in scoring by Neil Pionk with 7 points in those 5 games. Pionk. Second was Blake Wheeler with 6 and Adam Lowry with 5. You had Mark Scheifele with 1 point in 4 games before picking up an injury. Josh Morrissey with 1 point in 3 games before picking up an injury. And Nick Ehlers 0 points in 1 game. Obviously, injuries were a gigantic factor for this team.
Yeah,
at the same time, heading into it, you kind of knew that Connor Hellebuck would need to have a good series. He did not. An .886 save percentage for him. And he was quoted in the aftermath of this loss and saying, quote, "My main goal is to win the cup." It was also said that he is not interested in a rebuild, that he hasn't spoken with the Jets about an extension, nor has he thought about it. And the rumored problems in the Jets locker room dating back to now Florida Panthers head coach Paul Maurice just willingly leaving the team. And in the aftermath of the Patrick Laine trade, and why the fuck did that happen, Rick Bowness called this team out. It was like a minute-long press conference where he called this team out for not having the right amount of fight. Blake Wheeler spoke up in defense of himself and the team. This is a club that is right now fundamentally broken and are in desperate need of a rebuild. You got close. You got to a conference finals. Was it 5 years ago or so?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
God, when was that? Really quickly, the Winnipeg Jets seasons, because that was pre-pandemic. I know that for a fact.
Were they not in the conference finals versus Montreal? No,
it was 2018.
Edmonton, right?
It was 2018, and they lost to Vegas in 5 when Vegas lost to Washington in the Cup final.
Wow.
And then they did go to the second round against Montreal in the Canadian tournament deal that Montreal
Who the
went
fuck
to.
was in the conference finals? Was it Edmonton?
Yes.
In the pandemic cup? I cannot remember now because
that's a tough cup to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Winnipeg, you need to fix this. You need to. This team, I'm sorry, Kevin Cheveldayoff has been the GM of this team since they have returned 11 years and 8 months ago. It is time for something new. And the problem is, Rick Bowness isn't going to be the guy. He is 68 years old. You need a full refresh, changing of the course here. I mean, especially Blake Wheeler being 36, Scheifele is 30. It's tough to envision a scenario where they're going to win in the window that they thought they were going to win in. Worth noting that Kyle Connor's 26, Ehlers is 27, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is 24, and for all we know, again, is out the goddamn door, based, much like I said, out the goddamn door based off of everything that's been said. So, yeah, Endo. It must be nice, right? Like, for the longest time, it was, well, the Leafs are the team in the most trouble in Canada, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, you have this Canadian team that made the playoffs that's in a lot of trouble. Then you have Canadian teams outside of it, like Calgary, Vancouver. The Leafs, they got it together in comparison to the Jets. Does this remind you at all of the Leafs of years past, what Winnipeg's going through right now?
I don't know. I can't really say. I mean, they have exited the first round before, so that's the thing. I'm not really sure if I can compare it to anything because their scenario is really weird because they lost a coach halfway through the season who went, "Nope, I'm out." Like, to me, that's insane. Like, you can't. I've never heard of another team or another franchise losing going on a pretty decent road and record and path, and then losing their coach halfway through because he's like, I can't. Like, they just don't have the drive to go further. I think what's happening in Winnipeg is its own thing, and I don't like comparing. I'm trying to stop comparing things to other things. Fair. I think their case is unique, and I don't know what they have to do to solve it. Who knows? We're gonna probably find out because players are heading out and possibly going somewhere else. You have Pierre-Luc Dubois, who inadvertently apparently is going to be going to Montreal, but that could just be a whole thing that was taken out of context, and every Canadian media outlet's taken that with not even a grain of salt, like a big block of salt, just took it with them, like carrying it around. I don't know what's going to happen with Winnipeg, and I feel bad for my buddy Jesse because now he has to go lick the carpet over at TSN because he said the Jets are going to get out of the first round. So, sorry, buddy.
There you go. The Carolina Hurricanes.
If I want to be a lesbian, I gotta lick carpet.
Oh my god. I think the funny thing too is just talking about like the Jets and everything. They invite Jesse out, love the guy, but I think his shtick of hating the Leafs has finally worn thin on literally everybody. I'm not sure what it is, but Jesse Pollock works with TSN. Noted like fuck the Leafs, not fuck the Leafs, but like Leafs are trash. Go Winnipeg. He likes both teams. It's clearly evident he likes both teams, but he decided to be like a heel for Leafs fans and everything they get mad at. But the joke has worn out. It's overstayed its welcome completely. And I feel for the guy because he, out of anyone who works at TSN, he gets the most flack out of anybody. It's ridiculous. And like earlier this week, he got mad at someone, replied to someone on Twitter once. One reply against someone who was hating him, and the entirety of like Twitter or like hockey Twitter was like calling us like, oh, what, he can't handle the heat and everything. It's like this guy gets chastised every day, harassed. I think he's gotten like death threats and everything over fucking hockey. And like again, it's like a bit and it's a character, but at the same time, people need to lighten up. And I think he needs to find a different shtick.
Fair enough.
Only Sid can do it properly because he mixes in the right amount of respect too.
There you go.
God, I miss Sid, dude. Fucking why do you got to go on a breakfast show?
Carolina and New York Hurricanes win the series in 6 after winning game 6, 2-1 in overtime. Paul Stastny, the overtime hero, someone who got the hell out of Winnipeg and said they needed to change. He was right. Frederik Andersen gets the start and stops 33 of 34. Sorokin on the other side, 39 of 41, but would want the game-winning goal back. Hurricanes in this series led by Sebastian Aho. Sebastian with 7 points in the series. Brent Burns with 4. Might have been 5,
I thought he was
actually.
on the Islanders. Sorry.
I knew someone was going to make that joke. Canes, the depth issues, like you look at like Kotkaniemi, Puljujärvi, just 1 point each. They lost Teuvo Teravainen after game 2. Ranta had just a 906, but Hurricanes just fucking find a way to win every time. And I suppose it helps when you're playing the Islanders, who were led in scoring by Kyle Palmieri and Brock Nelson with 5 points each. With 2 points each, Matt Barzal, Pierre Engvall, and Bo Horvat. And 1 point each for Captain Anders Lee and JG Pajot. Ilya Sorokin had a .924 save percentage. And it's worth noting, too, it came out today, Zach Parise. There's a lot of talk about his future at like 38 years old now, and it said he will come back, but only plans on coming back for the New York Islanders. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Like, it's just, which kind of makes you think there's already 1 foot out the door if you're not willing to kind of relocate again and go cup chasing with another team. If you're just like, well, I'll give it another kick at the can with this club, but I'm not kind of going anywhere else. I wouldn't be surprised if he does just elect to retire. We'll see what happens there. Carolina, like, in my opinion, it's like, how the fuck they can't keep getting away with it. Yeah. Speaking of Jessies, they can't keep getting away with it. I don't know how the fuck they do it, no matter how many injuries. We have Pacioretty. Oh shit, no, we don't. Well, Svechnikov's there to report. No, you don't. They're still fucking winning. We'll talk about whether or not we think their luck will run out in round 2. And for the Islanders, well, hey, at least you didn't miss the playoffs after trading for Bo Horvat. You made it, at least. That's cool. You disappointments? Fuck. I'm still not ready to talk about the series we're supposed to talk about next. I'm going to skip over that really quickly and go to Dallas. Wow. I'm not ready. I'm not.
I am.
Fine.
I'm ready to just shit on the Bruins, but it's okay.
Rip this Band-Aid off. The Florida Panthers.
Oh, okay.
Let's do it. The Florida Panthers win in 7. They take game 6 by the score of 7-5 with one of the most ridiculous third periods I've ever seen in my life. Matthew Tkachuk had a 3-point night on that night. Bobrovsky stopping just 29 of 34. But it was enough to win for the Bruins in that game. Marchand had a 4-point night. Bertuzzi had 3. Allmark stopping just 26 of 32. And it was at that point, gentlemen, where Endo and I had both said on the podcast. Endo had said Leafs in 6, Lightning in 7, and I threw it out there. Bruins in 6, Panthers in 7. And the Florida Panthers win game 7 in Boston in overtime. 4-3. Bobrovsky stopping 33 of 36 for the Bruins, who had a lead with 1 minute left in regulation. It's a 3-point night for David Krejci. Jeremy Swayman stopping 27 of 31. This game was not his fault. General thoughts before we get to talking about both teams. I will say a lot of my thoughts. I will rehash some stuff, especially now it's a few days later. The night of, I started off my stream with a 56-minute long airing of grievances that is up on YouTube right now for those who want to check it out. So, Sin, the floor is yours as someone who you and I were texting every night during these games. You watched every single series, every game of the series. Just the floor is yours.
They at times played like the Panthers did last year. Fast and loose. And you cannot play like that in the playoffs. Bruins, I don't know if I've ever seen them get out forechecked, but they did. By the Florida Panthers. What? I don't think I've seen that many turnovers in the middle of the ice. Especially from the Bruins. Yeah. And it was crazy. When the Bruins have a lead in the third period, Bruins are going to win that game. That's your mentality, because it's the fucking Bruins. It's the Bruins. They have Bergeron. They have Marchand. They have McAvoy. Even Carlo is a pretty decent shutdown guy. You have a team built for that. They are still the team with that old school feel playing in the new school. They have adopted the new school things greatly. Like, Marchand's a speedy little fucking water bug out there who does incredible things with the puck, not to mention when he does away from it. And then you picked up more Bruins. Bertuzzi is a Bruin. Like, I don't understand. I know how they did it because I've witnessed something similar.
Yeah.
That's just horrific. It was like they melted when they faced their first adversity of the season, and that's, can be the downside of having such a terrific season, is that you nearly feel invincible for so long, and then you hit that wall and you kind of don't know what to do. And they had a coach who was a first-year guy, and he's like, how do I motivate these guys? He seemed lost too. I'm going to say it. Montgomery seemed a bit lost. He didn't know what to do, and that sucks. But
Yeah.
Kachuk is a problem. After game one, I was kind of shitting on him, like, man, Bruins just completely eliminated Kachuk from the equation in that game one, and they did. And then Kachuk did Kachuk things, and he was a goddamn problem the rest of the series. And he is the reason that game-winning goal goes in Game 7. Forechecks his ass off, gets the puck back, goes to the front of the net, and lays a beautiful screen.
So, similar to, I talked about that video. First 10, 15 minutes just dedicated to talking about the Panthers, how they earned this, how they deserve this. I can't take anything away from them. Again, I am not.
Yeah, two things can be true.
Yeah, like I'm not. Exactly. They earned it. The Bruins blew it. They are both true. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
In this instance, a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to blame the refs? Are you going to call the dirty? In the playoffs, everyone's fucking dirty. And in the playoffs, the refs suck for everybody. Was there that weird fucking DeBrusque call? Sure. Guess what? It's the NHL, and their fucking rule book is written terribly, as Sin talked about earlier, for fuck's sake. Like, it wasn't the refs. It wasn't the Panthers being dirty. It's just the Panthers earned it. They were the better team. Full stop. Paul Maurice was the better coach. Jim Montgomery crumbled under the pressure of the situation and got a lot of decisions wrong. What defenseman he happened to be playing at the time? We'll talk about the goaltending in a second. For Florida, they were led by Matthew Tkachuk, who had 11 points in the 7 games. This was his coming out party if he needed one. This is the moment where people realized, oh, he's not just a good to great player in this league. Like, he is a top player in this league. He is. I will say I'm going to skip a little bit further down into the notes here. I made note of, like, he especially, and we've already seen it as Leafs Panthers is getting ready to start. He has already shown that he's going to do the same thing in the Toronto series. He is the guy in that locker room that is fully embracing the underdog role. And why would he not? He was not on this team last year that won the President's Trophy and then got punked out in the second round by Tampa. This is now a Matthew Tkachuk-led team who are collectively thriving in this underdog role without that pressure of the President's Trophy on them this season. And you see that in the further emergence of Brandon Montour and Carter Verhaeghe, 8 points each. Barkov with 6. Reinhart, Sam Bennett, and Louis Sterainen with 5 each. Again, my issue with that motivating factor for Tkachuk, it's very effective. It clearly worked. But the whole nobody thought we would win is bullshit.
No.
Like, obviously, the vast majority of people are going to pick the 65-win Bruins to win the fucking thing, but no one's saying, realistically, Bruins in 3. People were saying Bruins in 5 or 6. This isn't some big gotcha from the Panthers locker room. No shit, you were underdogs. You made it as the 8th seed on the last day of the season by 1 fucking point. That's the underdog motivating mentality right there. Not, and those damn sports writers didn't pick us to win. No shit. So that's the only real issue that I have with that is, look, I get what they're doing and the self-motivating for the situation. At the same time, I chuckle at it because it's like, nobody picked us to win. Oh my God. Nobody picked this fucking bunny rabbit to beat Godzilla. I can't fucking believe it. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, in this series, they started off with Alex Lyon in goal, who finishes with a 1-2 record and a .902 save percentage. Sergei Bobrovsky, 3-1 record with an .891. For all the yucks of hey, Bobrovsky, he knocked out Tampa in 2019 and the Bruins. He was fucking bad for the majority of this series. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Did he steal the series? Not in my opinion. Not even close. again, that's why both can be true. The Panthers deserved it, but at the same time, the Bruins blew it, and I think the goaltending is a pretty good showcase of that aspect. But the Florida Panthers became just the second team to overcome a 3-1 deficit to defeat the reigning President's Trophy winners in any round. The Canadiens did it in 2010, defeating the Washington Capitals. And obviously, we will talk more about the Panthers shortly because we have to talk about them and Toronto. For the Bruins, and again, I already talked about a lot of this, but it's a chance for Endo, Sin to get their thoughts in. The Bruins were led in offense by Bertuzzi and Marchand, who had 10 points each. Taylor Hall, Dmitry Orlov with 8 points each. And Brusk-Zaka, 6. Pasternak, McAvoy, 5. From there, gets a little bit not pretty, as Charlie Coyle had just 2 points in the series, started off strong and couldn't get it back. 1 point in 7 games for deadline pickup Garnet Hathaway. Disaster. No points for Hampus Lindholm and Trent Frederick, who should have had at least 2 goals in game 1 on those fucking cross creases.
Man needs to adjust his curve blade like NHL 14.
Yeah. And then we get to the real sad shit. 1 point in 3 games for Patrice Bergeron, whose future is undecided. He played with a herniated disc in his back. And yeah, while he has said his future's undecided, boy, it certainly looked like he was thinking about, man, this could be it at the end of that game. David Krejci as well. His future not decided. He has stated that if he goes back home to the Czech Republic, it's not to play hockey. He will be retired. It's either he is going to be a Boston Bruin next year or he is retiring from professional hockey. Fuck. That's all I got right now is just...
Yeah.
Like, that's the fucking twist to this. And I said it, and Sin, I mentioned this to you before we started recording. I said it all year long that I was not buying into the idea that the Bruins were invincible. And we're going to talk about some reasons why. And it starts off first and foremost with the goaltending. And this is partially where Jim Montgomery got it very, very wrong. Linus Ullmark finishes the series with an .896 save percentage. I mean, all but 100% verified that he was hurt. All season long, you find success by rotating Ullmark and Swayman, yet you wait until Game 7 to put Swayman in. You don't start him in Game 6. You don't even put him in once Ullmark's allowed 3, 4, 5 goals in Game 6. That's why Game 7's not Jeremy Swayman's fault. He did the best that he could. He should have had Game 6, even if they didn't win, as a way to really warm up into the series to be fully ready for Game 7. The entire goaltending situation is a massive failure on Jim Montgomery's part, and nothing short of a Stanley Cup will erase this large of an error, because that's what this is. You fucked up badly. Whatever the reasons may be, whatever you trying to play 4D chess and you just ended up playing yourself, essentially. You overthought it, is the only way it can be viewed. Linus Ullmark only allowed 4+ goals twice in the regular season. And obviously the Panthers scored a shitload of goals in this. And I already mentioned Bobrovsky eliminating the 2019 Lightning. The Bruins became the first President's Trophy winners to lose in round 1 since the Lightning in 2019. I said it all year long. We'd get viewer question after viewer question. How hyped am I? How hyped am I? And I repeatedly said, wait until the playoffs, because that's when it matters. Because Tampa, the memory of the Lightning, was right there at the forefront, knowing that if you lost this series, it would be a bigger choke. And it is. It is a significantly bigger choke. This had the largest regular season point gap. There was a 43-point difference between these two clubs in the regular season. And now, Endo and I are working on a video. Because once I got done with that stream, I started thinking about this. And then Utree put out a video about the Bruins, his typical congratulations videos that he does to the losers in the playoffs. And he only reaffirmed what I was already thinking about. The Boston Bruins, and literally this is essentially the title of the video, the Boston Bruins have a choking habit. Because they do. They now lead the NHL with the most Game 7 losses in history, with 15. Since 2012, they are 3-5 in Game 7s, 3-0 against the Leafs, but 0-5 against other teams. And in this video, I went back through, dating all the way back to the early 70s with, the Bobby Orr-led teams and winning. Since then, they have choked over and over and over and over and over and over again, with the exception of one fucking year. This is what they do. And I'm so excited for this video. Should be out this week that covers this. Because as much as people are like, oh man, you're upset, aren't you? Yeah, it stings. It sucks. But at the same time, talk about all the success of the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Celtics in 2008, whatever. This is home for Bruins fans, is watching this team choke. I grew up hearing the stories of how they choked. I have witnessed now them choke so many fucking times. It's just what they fucking do. 2011 was the anomaly. 2011 was the exception to the rule. This is what the Bruins do. And you'll see stats pop up like this. January 28th, 2023. The Bruins lead the Florida Panthers 3-2 with 2 seconds left in the game. The Panthers tied the game and picked up the second point in overtime, went on to make the playoffs by 1 point, and eliminated the Bruins in the first round.
Wait, they made it to the playoffs off of the Boston Bruins back?
Not off of that, but it's an example of the Panthers, they made it in by 1 point. What would happen if the Bruins didn't blow it with 2 seconds left back on January 28th?
Gotcha. I thought that was actually how they clinched. I was like, no way.
Could you imagine?
Oh.
So look, I go into pretty much everything that you'd want to hear. In terms of, and a few days later, I mean, my thoughts are still the same. Like, yes, it fucking blows. Yes, Florida deserved it. My biggest takeaway from this is still that it is the greatest choke, at the very least, in the history of series-based playoffs. You could still throw the Atlanta Falcons 28-3 against the Patriots up there for the greatest choke of all time. But in terms of something that's series-based, yeah, I think you put this over the Yankees having a 3-0 lead on the Red Sox. I mean, this, or whatever other series you want to look at, the Warriors having a 3-1 lead in the NBA final. Like, this is... Well, maybe you could put the Warriors above it from a basketball perspective, but I mean,
because wasn't that their 72-win season?
I think so.
Yeah.
And they did it in the finals, so maybe you could rule that over this one. But I mean, this is up there. This will be remembered for however long we are around as a species to remember sports history.
And it's going to take some time for like the fallout of it to hit. I know for when the Sharks got reverse swept by the Kings were a wild card team, I believe, and then went on to win the cup. You know how bad that feels?
Yeah.
Could have been you.
Yep. Still could be.
And exactly. That's what I'm saying. This may even take time for it to really sink in. Yeah, there's been a few of those in my life. A's in 2001, was it? 2-0 lead against the Yankees. They lose both the next games at home, and then
2001, at least the Yankees would have lost to the Diamondbacks in the World Series.
True. But then they shoot themselves in the foot in that game 5.
So there was a really good post on the hockey subreddit. What the Bruins have to deal with this offseason. And this covers pretty much everything, but something that is often forgotten. The Bruins are going to have about $4.5 million in cap penalties from performance bonus overages. Pastrnak and Zacha's extensions are kicking in, raising their combined cap hits by a collective $5.83 million. They have 14 contracts active with about $6 million in cap space. This was, I said in the video, like Orlov Bertuzzi coming back, like, man, I don't know. Like, this is the situation you dug yourself into. You went all in like you should have, but you missed. And they did the same thing in 2014. And then those were the years where they were bad for a couple of years, and the benefit was they got David Pasternak out of it. But yeah, this is
Could have had more.
Yeah, 2015 draft could have gone a little bit good, huh?
Hit the bingo, chat.
Yeah, the Bruins are in a lot of trouble. Swayman is going to be an RFA, and again, I talked about it. Like, I'm sure the plan is to still stick with Allmark until his deal is up, and then Swayman's the guy. I would have said otherwise had they not waited until Game 7 to start Swayman, but they still clearly view him as the growing into it situation. Yeah, it's going to get bad before it gets better. That is for sure. Any other thoughts on this, or should we go to the other two series quickly? Actually, the other three. Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's breeze through these a little bit because we still want to talk about round two. It's going to be one of our longer shows for a while. Dallas knocks off Minnesota 4-2. The Stars. Well, soda. Yeah, say it for the last time because we won't say it for a little bit.
Soda.
Dallas wins Game 6 4-1. 23 of 24 stop for Ottinger. In the playoffs, Dallas were led by Rupe Hintz with his 12 points, led the first round in scoring. Jason Robertson with 7, Sagan Heiskanen 6 each. Ottinger finishes with a .929 save percentage. Beyond Game 3, he stopped 82 of 85 for a .965 save percentage. He grew into the series and absolutely dominated down the stretch. Dallas obviously moving on to round 2 for the Minnesota Wild. Led in scoring by Zuccarello, Hartman, and Nyquist with 5 points each. But the biggest story, Kirill Kaprizov, 1 point in 6 games. Injured, who knows, but not what they need from their superstar level player. We talked about Marcus Foligno's impact, 1 point, 35 penalty minutes in 6 games. GG's. And obviously they had issues with injuries. Eriksson Ek played just 1 game due to injury. And they had some coaching issues too. Gustafsson finishes with a .921 save percentage. Marc-Andre Fleury with an .811 through 76 minutes of ice time. Still one of the most puzzling decisions I think I've seen. I guess when rotating goalies like he did in the regular season goes wrong. Maybe I have Minnesota to blame for Jim Montgomery getting cold feet about putting Jeremy Swayman in earlier. Maybe I have Minnesota to blame for that.
It's kind of nuts that he, after that game where he got pulled 16 minutes in, he got a full game after that. Is that what I'm saying?
He did play another game. Yes.
I didn't really pay attention to that series too much besides like the score line. But I'm shocked at that. I didn't think he would see the ice again after that. I'm actually shocked.
Yeah. Minnesota, for Marc-Andre Fleury, he's under contract next year. He admits that he will play, but that it could be his final season. We've talked about him in the past. He's a future Hockey Hall of Famer. Should not have played in this series. And the Minnesota Wild now kind of take over the baton from the Maple Leafs, while the Bruins take the biggest choke artists baton. The Wild take the playoff struggles baton. We'll work on the name. They are now 2-10 in their last 12 playoff series. They have 7 straight first round exits, and of course have not made it to the third round since their magical run in 2003.
Manny Fernandez knocking out the Colorado Avalanche, ending Patrick Waugh's career, and of course that run ended at the hands of the Anaheim Ducks, who were on a magical run of their own. So Minnesota's out, and trees are green mostly. I mean, it's almost an evergreen statement, isn't it, Wild fans? Pretty brutal. Edmonton and Los Angeles, the Oilers win in 6, winning game 6 5-4. Klim Kostin had a 3-point night. Stuart Skinner stops 40 of 44. For the Kings, 3-point night for Fiala, but it wasn't enough. Korpisalo lets in 5 goals. The Oilers in the first round, led by Leon Draisaitl, 7 goals, 4 assists. You had McDavid on 10 points, Bouchard on 10 points, who led all defensemen in points. And then you had Nuge, Hyman, Kane, Ekholm, and Kostin all with 4 points. Stuart Skinner
finishes the series with an .890 save percentage compared to Jack Campbell's .964 in his one game saving appearance. For the Kings, led in scoring by Adrian Kempe, 8 points, 5 goals. You had Kopitar and Arvidsson with 7 points each, Fiala and Dano with 6 and 5 respectively. And then playoff Korpisalo, not so much. An .892 save percentage for him at the end of the series. The Oilers win a series that they should have. And, disappointment there for the Kings. Maybe not the best showing for themselves that they would have hoped to have had. And then the Seattle Kraken knock out the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche in 7. The Avs won game 6, 4-1. Kraken win game 7, 2-1. They become the first franchise in history to have their first playoff series victory be against the reigning champions. They are just the second team in NHL history to score first in all 7 games of a series. The only other team to do that was the 2004 Toronto Maple Leafs.
Of course.
Kraken fans, it's about to get bad.
Yeah, just check the score of the Leafs game, by the way.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. Both goals for the Kraken in that game. Bjorkstrand, 2-point night for Yanni Gourde as well. Grubauer stopped 33 of 34 in game 7. And in general for the Kraken, led by Yanni Gourde with 6 points, and then Jaden Schwartz and Justin Schultz, 5 points each. And a 9-26 for Philip Grubauer. Good to see him finally living up to his contract. The Avs, led by Mikko Rantanen with 10 points, Taves with 9. You had McKinnon with 7, and it drops from there. Obviously a weird series. The Avs really had no depth scoring. I don't think anybody in their bottom 6 had a goal in the entire series. You had injuries like Cogliano, which in fairness, Eberle should have been suspended for that hit. The whole whatever the fuck's going on with Valeri Nichushkin. We're going to hold our tongues on that until we know for sure what the hell's going on there. And Georgiev with a 9-14. Not bad. But yeah, for the Avs, their injuries and their lack of depth really hindered them in this series. But man, how fucking cool is this for the Seattle Kraken? Pushes them into round 2. And let's quickly talk about this so we can actually go watch these games. Florida and Toronto, game 1 is on right now as we're recording this. The Panthers up 1-0. About 6 minutes to go in
Cousins from Kachuk
period. And yes, indeed.
Kachuk, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I need to see who's playing that game. As I wanted to mention earlier, I forgot Gustafsson was on the Leafs, and I seen him in game 7 and seen what he did. I'm like, why the fuck has he not been playing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about righty lefty. When you have a guy like that and Hull, there's no comparison.
Yeah,
Gustafsson goes in. So I'm curious to see who the Leafs are playing on defense right now. And if Hull's in the lineup, I'm just going to enjoy watching Kachuk eat him alive. Honestly, he could eat that whole decor alive. In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if this is the lineup, but this is what Cap Friendly had for them 8 hours ago. Actually, I should be able to find the Leafs lines on Twitter. Give me a second here. But Endo, I mean, obviously, there's the instance of like, hey, this game's already going. How are you feeling about this series? The lines, by the way, Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, Jarnkrok, Tavares, Marner, Bunting, O'Reilly, Achari, Aston, Reese, Camp, Kerfoot. Defense is McCabe, Brody, Giordano, Liljegren, Riley, Shen.
Well, I've been watching the game for the past 10 minutes, not going to lie. And so far, it's zone entries have been pretty easy for them. But right now, as of recording, we are down 1-0. Florida's playing a lot more physical of a game. Like, a lot more physical than what Tampa Bay was doing. And Toronto's going to have to adjust that. So I pretty much... I want to say right now, it feels like a Boston-Toronto series with the amount of hits that are being thrown out right now. Not to mention, Nice just like took a Radko Gudas hit and totally in reverse hit him. And then we got Morgan Riley just skating into the ref. Oh boy. It's going to be a long series.
How do you feel for the overall series though?
So far, I think it's going to be interesting. I really want to see how games 1 and 2 go. That's like, I kind of like I kind of gleaned how I feel the playoff series is going to go after the first 2 games because you kind of get a balance of how things are going to go. So far, so good. But yeah, I don't know. Probably another Leaf in 6, Florida in 7.
Sin, your thoughts on Panthers Leafs?
I worry for the Leafs because Kachuk. It's not just Kachuk. It's other guys like him, Bennett. Even Cousins at times just a problem down low. And yeah, I know righty lefty's a big thing in the NHL, but you're scratching the hole again, sure, but you're putting in Liljegren, who was good. He was good in that game 6. Don't get me wrong, but I worry about him as opposed to a player like Gustafsson, who more experienced, moves the puck just as well, if not maybe slightly better. It's just, you don't have the ready lefty. Overall series wise, it could go either way. I just have this feeling Florida can go on a fucking run. Like, they seem like one of those wild card teams who figures it out, they buy in, and they go deep.
So for me, I'll answer it this way. I think we can go back to who we want to win, who we think will win.
That's
I don't care who wins. I'm not against either team. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy what I think will be a really good series, and I can see myself rooting for... If you were to tell me either of these teams were going to win the Stanley Cup, cool. Like, I have a lot of friends who are Leafs fans. I've been a longtime supporter of the Florida Panthers. This podcast started with the biggest Panthers fan I've ever known in my life, and I'm still happy for that guy. It's just one of those things where I have really nothing against either team at this stage. So, who do I think will win? Toronto Maple Leafs. Sin.
I want Toronto. It's hard because the way Florida's been playing, even though I kind of was not liking them, like, it's hard to root against Kachuk once you're like, yeah, he just looks so good. But yeah, their goaltending is a huge issue. I don't know. Like, I feel like I want the Leafs to win in some ways. I know their fans are going to be abysmal if they keep winning, but at the same time, like, they're overdue, and they made the right moves at the deadline. It's up to Keefe now to not fuck things up, because he was getting out coached a lot in that first round, and his players bailed him out. So I want the Leafs to win, but I think Florida's going to win. There's that feeling around them.
We know who you want to win. Who do you think is going to win?
Like I said, Leafs in 6, Florida in 7. That's the way, especially at the way this game is going right now. Like, the zone time in transition is good, but Florida is just fucking they just press and press and press. Like, I guess Paul Maurice has got them on the bike all season long because they do not look out of step at all. Jesus.
Now, the other game one tonight is Seattle and Dallas to kick off their series. As honestly, as fun as that is going to be, I can't wait to ask you.
Big save by Stanton. Sorry. Oh boy.
I was hearing thunder earlier, and now I heard something else. And apparently, it's pouring fucking rain right now, which is interesting.
Cool.
We had 90-degree days like three days ago.
Let's wrap this up quickly before your Californian internet infrastructure collapses because of water.
Yeah. It's kind of true.
Where's the lie?
It's kind of fucking true.
God damn. Seattle and Dallas. I'm excited for this one too. Who do I want to win? I'm good with either. I'm leaning Seattle. Not upset if either team wins. I mean, that's the thing, right? The most recent cup winner left in this playoffs is Carolina from 2006. We are not going to have a recent cup winner no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I am still leaning towards Seattle because of the story of it, but I will not be upset at all. I mean, Jesus, you guys have heard me wax poetic about Jason Robertson on the show for a year and a half now. Rooting for Seattle. Do you think Dallas is going to win the series? Sin.
Rooting for Dallas. I think Dallas is going to win. And Cavs is coming back, baby.
Yeah, Dallas.
There you go. New Jersey and Carolina. I put game twos, game ones on Wednesday for these next two series. New Jersey and Carolina. Want the Devils to win. Think Carolina's going to win.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
I can't pick against the Hurricanes anymore. Every time I do, they just fucking stick it to me.
That's
So,
fair. After watching the Devils in that, here's the thing. I don't know how long Timo's going to be out. I think he should be, because that was a brutal hit. And I want the Devils to win. And you know what? With the way is Schmid going to keep it up? That's the big question. I want the Devils to win, and I'm going to say I think they do win. Carry that momentum. They're a young team, man.
I mean, hey, it could happen. As you know, this is a series I'm excited for. Like I said, I mean, it's just one of those things where how many times are going to get torched picking against Carolina when everything says New Jersey should be able to do this. Who knows? Yeah. And the final one, Endo, there'll be a typo on your sheet. Sin caught it earlier. It is Edmonton and Vegas, game 1 on Wednesday. Sin, I'm going to hazard a guess. You're Edmonton and Edmonton.
I want Edmonton to win. I think Vegas is going to win.
Really?
I'm just trying to reverse jinx those fuckers.
Fair.
Get them out. Get them out.
Endo, your thoughts, Edmonton or Vegas?
Edmonton. Yeah, fuck Vegas. I think it's going to be McDavid going to the conference final, and then I honestly think Edmonton's going to go to the final. I just feel like Edmonton's is going to outscore everybody, and we'll cross that path when we get there. But you know, you can't. I'm going to say you can't outscore your problems, but they've done that before. So we'll see how this goes.
I'm good with either, but Sin rooted for the Bruins, so I have to root against Vegas. I want Edmonton to win. I think Vegas is going to win it, because I refuse to trust the Oilers until they prove that they can be trusted. And I just don't know if they can be still. You got to prove
Canadian teams, am I right?
You got to prove it. So we'll see what happens there. With that, everybody, we will wind this show down. Thank you for sticking with us through an extended edition of the podcast. Enjoy the second round. Keep an eye out on the YouTube side of things for that video, again, that Endo and I are putting together in regards to the Bruins' history of choking. It's not a new thing, but boy, they took it to new heights. You can catch Sin on the YouTube side of things at Sin for the Win Productions. And what do you have going on? Anything new?
Absolutely not. I'm going to be starting a Road to the Show though on my YouTube channel, because my time learning with the knuckleballer how fucking fun pitching is. I might even make a 2-way guy. I'll have to decide. But yeah, R.A. Thicky is coming to YouTube.
I got a text update about this the other day and was just dying.
Yeah, I'm gonna remake them, but I have a ton of awesome perks. I got full diamond for break.
Way to do it.
Oh my god.
Dude, so the knuckleball just darts around, dude. It's amazing.
Road to the Show has so much fucking potential for memes. I have considered doing a series where I only bunt. I have considered doing a series where I just stand still and see how many walks I get.
That's like, amazing. That's like a picture.
That's so much potential.
Video, basically. That's
basically it is a fumble. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've sent Kofi. Because somehow I'm Twitch friends with Kofi. I've told him, like, you should do this because I don't want to put in the work to do it, but I'd love to see the outcome of what happens if you just fucking stand there. I might have to do it one of these days just to find out for sure. Endo, what do you have going on aside from Leafs stressing?
Leaf stressing. It's actually my mom's birthday today. So happy birthday, Mom. You're not going to listen to it.
Happy birthday to podcast legend Endo's mom.
Mother's Privilege 2.0. They're supposed to pick me up. She wants sloppy joes for her birthday. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to have a fucking heart attack. I swear to God. So yeah, I'm going to go celebrate my mom's birthday with her.
Oh, yeah.
And then apparently we're supposed to go to a gun range. So fucking my mom is wild. I'm like,
is
hey,
you're like sloppy Joe's the gun range? Jesus.
All
she's missing is fucking signing through legislation to fucking hold people back.
So here's the best part about this. I ask her, I'm like, have you ever fired a rifle before, like ever? She's like, no. Like, so you want to go to a gun range? She's like, yeah. It's like, I know you fired. I know you don't hold a gun. I'm like, yeah, because in Army cadets, before they phased out the program, you used to be able to shoot C7s, which is like the M14 kind of. And that was fun. But like, I guess she wants to go shoot guns, so I guess I'm gonna go
Hey, if
shoot
she's
guns
never
with my
done
mom.
it, hell yeah! Like it's shooting guns can be fun.
It can be. It can be.
Yeah.
I have. Would you believe this woke white bitch has fired a gun?
Oh, I fired
Were
so
you
many
this-
guns in my life too.
I
Like
know.
I'm probably I'm incredibly leftist, and I fired a lot of guns. Have hunted. I am a crack shot with an air pellet gun. I will bullseye fucking anything at 50 feet.
Oh shit! I was a distinguished marksman in cadets, so that's one thing. It means shit. It means fuck all. Like now,
Means everything.
you know, yeah.
I love.
I was a
air
good
rifles, dude.
shot.
They're a
I was
blast.
like shoot competition shooting. So yeah.
And no mills, ladies and gentlemen. The crack shot of the podcast.
Yeah. Crack
Fucking
shot.
thunderstorm. Like, where'd they just even come from?
Yeah. With that, everybody, thank you again. Manscaped.com, code Tougie. We will see you all very, very soon. Go Bruins in the second round against the Leafs. That's
Hey,
not a
listen.
thing.
Listen, I'm gonna say right now, it looks like the Florida Panthers are basically the Boston Bruins because their forecheck is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later on this week, everybody.